Hi everybody, Peter Greenberg here on Friday the 27th of March for my latest report on travel amidst the coronavirus. Some good news to report. Congress just passed the $2.2 trillion stimulus bill. I still call it a recovery bill, and that bill is now being sent to the president for his signature, which we expect momentarily, at least before the end of the weekend. However, let's go back and take a look at some other numbers. The unemployment statistics, the 3 million plus claims that were filed, not a good sign. And let's not forget, of the 4.6 million jobs in the travel industry that are going to be lost this week, 1/3 of them probably will not return. Just in the hotel industry alone, they're reporting the following loss of jobs on a statewide basis. 33,000 jobs lost in Alabama, 81,000 in Arizona, 414,000 jobs in California, 71,000 in Colorado, 104,000 in Georgia, 305,000 in Florida, even Nevada, which is a big deal now since the entire strip is closed, 161,000 jobs lost, 215,000 lost. We're not talking about jobs that might be affected here. We're talking about the jobs that may be lost and not coming back. 215,000 in New York and a whopping 268,000 in Texas. Now, the world's airlines last week estimated that their total revenue loss was going to be about $113 billion. Guess what? They've revised that figure. It's now $252 billion. And the UN World Tourism Organization, it's a good indicator here that they reported that international tourist arrivals this year, the year 2020, will be down as much as 30% due to the coronavirus. Now, let's put this in some context. During the 2008 recession, the drop was 4%. And back in 2003 during SARS, it was 0.4%. So you can see how big the numbers are. Now, how does this translate into a dollar loss? Right now, $450 billion loss in tourist inbound revenue, and that's just getting started. Remember, we're dealing with 75 million jobs in travel and tourism at risk around the world. Now, here's a concept that, well, let's call it the elephant in the room. It really is. It's called bread on the table. That's right. For so many countries around the world that depend totally on their foreign exchange from travel and tourism, it is travel and tourism that puts bread on the table. It what lets them feed their people. So what's happening right now in Egypt? What's happening in Peru? What's happening in South America throughout that continent? What's happening in Tanzania and Kenya? The countries that depend so totally on travel and tourism. You know, we know what the federal government did here, but what are the central banks going to be doing in Egypt and in all those other countries? If they don't follow suit, you know what? History has taught us that when you can't feed your people, when you literally, it's all hand to mouth. When you can't feed your people, governments collapse. And when governments collapse, I don't want to be alarmist, we're seeing the threshold of global instability if the countries, banks around the world don't follow suit with what the United States Congress just did. Now, a couple of other news items to report. Many of you may have seen the story last week, which turned out to be erroneous, that the coronavirus on the Diamond Princess, remember the ship that was quarantined in Yokohama for 2 weeks, that Japanese inspectors went on the ship after the passengers disembarked and discovered that the virus had lived for another 17 days. Guess what? The CDC and the Japanese government have amended that. That was a completely erroneous report. No, it may have lived for another 3 days on plastic, and its total lifespan on cardboard is 1 day. So keep that in mind. Now, here's another news item. Talk about today's ironic timing award. Boeing has announced they're resuming production of the Boeing 737 MAX. Whoa, we'll talk about that in another video. But today, as the airlines continue to cut flights and park planes, the number of airlines that are actually ceasing to operate right now also continues to grow. The TSA announced a couple of days ago that the number of passenger screenings had dropped by 87%. And for the airlines that are still flying, it's not a surprise that on almost a worldwide basis, and this comes from FlightAware, a very good website, no airports and no airlines are reporting delays. Go figure. And we're talking like absurd load factors. A few days ago, American Airlines was going on Flight 1. It's a flight that I take all the time from New York to Los Angeles. It's on an A321. It left with 6 people on board. Talk about the unintended consequences of social distancing. And remember, no delays around the world, right? No airports reporting any operational delays. The flight numbers are completely in the basement. And yet one airline has still managed to report a delay. Kenya Airlines. You got to laugh. On a day when every airline in the world is on time, With no weather or operational delays, Kenya Airways has still found a way to be late. It makes you wonder what's going to happen when the airlines finally return to a quote-unquote more normal schedule. Speaking of schedule, there is no evidence to currently confirm or to lead me to believe that U.S. airlines will shut down their domestic routes. They, like us, are waiting for the correct congressional vote. They just got it, and the president's signature. So when that happens, I can't foresee any major U.S. carrier stopping domestic service, especially if they accept the bailout money. Now, the only scenario that might produce a domestic stop is if the federal or state governments determine that airports are non-essential businesses, or for health reasons that no civilian airline passengers can travel. That would presumably also include our elected representatives. In an election year, are you kidding? They don't want to be denied access to their home districts. U.S. domestic airlines are going to continue to fly. So for the moment, at least, that's what's happening. And if they do change their mind, they're going to give you at least 72 hours notice to make alternate plans or get home. Now, a number of you have emailed me asking if your flights will be operating on time in May or June, or if it's a good idea to book any future travel now. Well, look, one way to figure this out is to figure out that airline websites haven't told the truth since 1947, when there wasn't even a website, right? They're still going to list their flights as being on time in April and May and June. They want to hold on to their money. They want you to book. In fact, they're going to hold on to those flights showing on time until they're not. So if you're holding a ticket for a flight in April or May, still hold on to that ticket. Wait until the last minute, as the airlines do. Let them cancel first. Remember, this is a game of chicken. You want them to blink, right? You retain your rights there because, as I said in my last video, under the U.S. Department of Transportation rules, if an airline cancels your flight, you are entitled to a full refund that goes directly back to your original form of payment. They're offering vouchers, but the rule does say you're entitled to a full refund. Remember that, okay? Now, one indication of what's going to happen is, and one of the reasons why people are so worried, is to try to figure out who's going to be coming to America when this is all said and done. Now, there's a company in Europe called Forward Keys. They're a travel analytics company, and they just revealed that international summer bookings for air travel to all American destinations are 27% behind where they were at this time of the year, and bookings for June, 31% of the time. So, you know what? There will be a buyer's market. It will be in your favor, but don't even try to book any flights for June or July or August yet, because the airline computers aren't programmed to realize that their original projections for that time are probably not going to hold up. So don't do anything. Wait and see, okay? Trust me, you'll thank me for this. Now, remember, the airlines are going to wait till the very last minute to make their decisions on which planes are going to operate and which won't. Now, right now, most U.S. airlines will let you book without any cancellation or change fees through May 31st. That doesn't, however, mean, as I just said before, they're going to voluntarily give you a refund. And so, welcome to the brave new world of vouchers, and I'll address a number of your questions about that a little later. And I will also deal with the cruise line policies as well. A number of cruise lines, by the way, are allowing you to cancel for any reason up to 48 hours before the cruise, and that's extending till November 30th with no penalty, and get a full refund. The cruise lines are actually doing better, and they used to have the worst refund policies. They're actually doing better now than many airlines in terms of their policies. Now, moving on, I encourage you to email me with your coronavirus questions and problems and issues, and you weren't shy. I was inundated with them, and I want you to continue to send me your questions to peter@petergreenberg.com, and I'll get to some of them today. And then tomorrow on my CBS National Radio show, I'll be dealing with them a lot. And bottom line is, if you can't find the show, check your local listings for the date and time and station. But if you can't find that, it's easy. You can listen online. We stream it live. That's tomorrow, Saturday, the 28th of March, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So check your own time zone for that. And I'll come back today with all of your emails in our second video. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane.